Well, it looks like our new engine cover has finally arrived. It didn't take long. The seller was pretty prompt. I'm going to have to mention that in the feedback, but this is our new engine cover. It just came in the mail today, and as you can see, it still has both mounting tabs attached. There are no cracks that I can see. But most importantly, two things about this one that I like. Number one, the hardware cloth mesh has no rot. There's no holes in it, so I don't have to drill out any rivets and replace that. But the other thing is, there's no pitting. I mean, there's basically the rough casting marks, which you're gonna have on something like this. You know, these were not meant to be beautiful, they were meant to be functional. So they're not gonna be a perfect casting. It would be nice, but that's not the case. So all I really have to do to prep this is, and there's no heavy rust. It's not all rusted. It's been painted before. We're just gonna paint over that. I'm not gonna go nuts. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have to degrease this really well, and then pressure wash it, and then I should be able to get a coat of paint on it. But like I said, this hardware cloth, this is original. I wanted to keep it original, but the other one I have, the cloth is just, it's by the way, it's not cloth, it's actually galvanized steel that's been soldered or welded together. But this is in really good shape. We're going to keep that. This bracket on the other one had a lot of heavy pitting on it, and I, you know, without removing the rivets and all that, there was no way I was going to make that look nice. But this is in really good shape. It looked like it might have a crack in it from the photos, but I don't see that as the case. It just has some scratches. But it rings. It has a nice ring to it. Cast iron that's cracked won't ring. Folks from Philadelphia know all about that. So let's get on this. This is going to be epic. I'm probably going to pull the gas tank mount off again and give it one more shot of paint. I'm not too keen on how that looks. You know, being it as roughly casted as it is, I mean, these bands, I mean, these actually are, the thing is, a lot of the parts on this engine are unobtainium. You just can't get them anywhere for any price. It's an old engine, and it's, you know, these were workhorses back in the day, and they were often run until they were dead. So, you know, there's just not a lot of market for the, you know, service and repair side of things on these engines. But we're going to do with what we got. We're going to make do with what we got. So I got to somehow get this cleaned, degreased. It's going to be fun. Alright, so this is the bare cast iron. It's already starting to rust over. There is a little bit of like a Rust-Oleum kind of paint or something on there. But you can see that, you know, even from the factory. So here's the bare cast iron in all its glory, and it's still pretty rough. I mean, there's a lot of spots here where it's just, you know, they really didn't care too much about making it pretty. And look at this. You can even still see the grinding marks from when they manufactured it. So what they would do is they would grind off the flashing on the edges here, and they hit this with a grinder, and they hit this with a grinder. I mean, they weren't really out to make a beautiful piece. That's for damn sure. And we're going to leave it that way. You know what? I'm going to leave it that way. This is how it was manufactured. This is how it came from the factory. Somebody painted it with a brush with Rust-Oleum. We're going to try to clean the rest of that off. But beyond that, I'm leaving it alone. I think that's part of the beauty of these old engines. Just the carelessness and the lack of detail. Look at this. This grinding mark went all the way here. Unless this was brazed. Now, I thought about that. I don't think it was. Because on the inside, you don't see any brazing marks. This is just how it was made. You know, a little bit of grinding here, a little bit of grinding there. And that doesn't look fresh. I think that's how it was made. This is probably where the seam was on the mold. Yeah, it's just incredible. You don't really see that anymore in modern production. That's just not how it is. At least nothing we get in the U.S. anyway. Folks, this is it. I still have to put a decal here. I have a Briggs and Stratton decal to put there. But ultimately, this is it. This is your onion belt era. If you don't get the joke, look it up. Engine cover. I mean, look at how rough this cat. I mean, these scratch marks. These are from the grinding wheel process, when they were just kind of smoothing over the rust spots. They didn't care if this was a beautiful piece. They just did their job, and that was it. Your job today, son, is to grind the flashing off of these flywheel covers, and yeah, that's it. But here's a comparison, by the way, of, you know, my original, the one that came on that flywheel cover. This thing is so rough. It's got rust holes. What happens is, this wire is galvanized, and once that galvanization wears off, it just goes straight for the steel. It corrodes, and this is what happens. So this is trash. And then this part here, I'm not going to throw this part away. Might put it back on eBay. I mean, for somebody who has an engine that doesn't have a shroud at all, you know, a cracked shroud is better than no shroud. And it is weldable, but I probably won't get much money for it. But that's okay. But even the center of this is all nicely, tightly woven. This is a good piece. This is as good as it gets. So, come at me, bro. This is cotton rope. And this is an authentic antique oak pull handle. And what we're going to do is make us a new starter rope. Okay. So it should be just knotted enough to catch. So we're going to want to double knot this. That's not going to do it. We'll double knot it. Nice and tight. I didn't want to do like 100 wraps, just enough to get the engine spinning. Here we go. Of course, there's no fuel in this thing, so that should be enough to pull her over. Sustainable. You don't want it too long because you don't want the engine to start up and have the end of the rope get sucked into the flywheel as the engine's spinning. So if you make the rope too long, it can get sucked right in. Ooh. Not bad. And this knot will tighten up as it ages. The other thing is, cotton rope will get dirty, and that's fine. That is actually kind of a desired effect, in my opinion. So it's enough to pull it over a few times, enough to get it started. And that's all you need. While you guys weren't looking, I took the spark plug out and I set the gap. It was way, way, way too open. It was actually nearly 1.5 times what it should have been, which is 25 thousandths of an inch. It was like 30 thousandths of an inch. Yeah, it was a little bit much. So we took care of that problem. Normally these plugs, when you buy a new set of plugs for your car, really all you got to do is check the gap. Modern plugs aren't meant to be gapped. They're designed to be gapped at the factory. At least that's what I've been reading. But back in the day, that was not the case. You actually had to... Oh, we might not be able to do this. I don't think my Okay, alright. Without any adapters. Yeah, it does thread in. Okay, so we're fine. Yeah, that's the biggest size plug that it'll take. Alright. Okay. This is probably the first compression test this engine's ever had. And I expect low numbers because we just put it together. The rings haven't seated properly. It's probably going to be dismal, to put it, you know, in layman's terms. We're going to pull it as many times as we need to. There we go. Okay, initially, we've got 60 pounds. That's the first go around. Now we'll do it again. Just keep going until it bottoms out or tops out. Just over 60 pounds. And I think normally you want it to be much higher than that, like somewhere around 100 pounds would be a good healthy number. But again, we haven't run this engine yet. It's never been started since the rebuild. Yeah, it's about 60 pounds is where it wants to be. I mean, well, then again, the choke is open. Okay, the choke is open. The throttle's wide open because it's not spinning. So now for my next trick, we're going to be taking a few precautions. Just a few precautions. Nothing out of the ordinary. That'll do. Here's what I'm doing. So we don't have a fuel system yet. We're still waiting for the fuel shut-off parts to arrive, and well, I want to see. I want to see if we can get her started, to be honest with you. Let's get this away from there. Okay. I want to see what's going to happen. Make sure there's no major problems. Make sure it's going to actually run. So we're going to set the choke. I've got my... If you need to shut it off, I can shut it off this way. Okay. This is going to be messy. It's going to be loud. Extremely loud and incredibly close, as they might say. Let's see what's going to happen, folks. This is the first run of this engine. You are seeing it on my channel right here now. October 2nd? 5th, 2020. Let's see what happens. First fucking pull. Okay, let's up the ante a little bit. Here we go. First, did you see that? First pull. And now it doesn't want to start. Alright, let's open up the choke a bit. I'm going to put a container under the carb in case anything dribbles out. Maybe not. Okay. This baby wants to run. Okay, it's running a little rich, I think. So we're going to lean it out. So like this sort of went on for maybe half an hour, give or take. I kept snapping ropes because there was a rough edge on the starter cup. I had to keep refilling the carburetor. And really, it just went on, and it would fire, run a few cycles, and stall. And I just couldn't get it to sustain a running state. And then, as I came home from work today, the next day, I refilled the carburetor bowl once again, and, well, let's take a look. So, as you can clearly hear, the engine ran for at least, I would say, about a minute. And it wasn't until about maybe 15 seconds in that I started filming. The only camera that I had was my iPhone, hence the vertical video. But it ran, and it sounded pretty good. No abnormal noises or anything unusual. No knocking, nothing. The engine ran perfectly smooth. We do have to work on fuel delivery. The carburetor requires a steady fuel source. So, you know, that's the thing. But once I get the fuel source connected, we'll have a better ability to dial it in and get it running smoothly. So, all right. You saw the engine shroud in that video was installed, as well as the new decal. So let's take a look at how that was done in this next clip. All right. Well, I don't want tonight to be a complete waste. mean, today shouldn't be a total waste, right? Exactly. Okay, so that it's rubbing on the screen. Actually, it's fixable. Bend it out a little bit. Yeah. There's my hook. There's my hook. Pull that out. Yeah. There. Happy now? Well, how about one more tug for old time's sake? Oh, that could be so taken the wrong way. Yeah, right. Who am I thinking? Or who am I kidding? Like it's gonna run for me. Yeah, one more. I think we're out of fuel at this point. Nothing in the carburetor to speak of. So, I'll call it a night. Come back next week for this old engine. Oh, one more thing. Decals. Yep, I ordered them. What's a little upsetting is that there's two rivets here. Right where the logo, right where the decal goes. I don't know what they were thinking when they built these, but that's just how they did it back then. And it's also the kit also came with this decal for the oil level and all that. SAE 20 is what the manual calls for, and the sticker, but you can't really buy that at Walmart anymore. SAE 30 is a good substitute for that, so that's what I've got in there now. And once I get the engine rolling, let it run for, 20-30 minutes or so, then I'll change the oil for something a little bit cleaner. Only because the engine has just been reassembled, so God only knows what kind of particles might be floating around in there. Until next time, maybe the next video will show a good running motor. I'm hoping so. All right, until then.